If you like what we do and you want to support us, leave us a comment. #FightBoss.
Yeah, that's the one.
I did a video on how to condition your hands, how to punch harder. So the first thing we're going to talk about is conditioning your hands. In part of that video, I mentioned that you should hit the heavy bag barehanded. Today we're going to look at how to increase your power. And power is important. If you're going to hit someone, it's essential that you use a tool. Heavy bag's a good tool. Now, first things first, training on a heavy bag. If you really want to train for self-defense, if you really want to learn how to fight, you've got to learn how to punch and punch hard with a bare fist. So wrapping your hands and putting them into gloves is not going to help you in a street fight. You don't walk around with boxing gloves. Well, I don't know, this is would cream, sometimes people do. Unfortunately, and typical of YouTube, there are quite a few comments on people saying that you shouldn't hit the heavy bag barehanded. Now, it was a generic video where I spoke about a lot of different points, sinking your weight, turning your body, and trying to punch from a short distance. When you're actually hitting a person, okay, what you generally want to do is form a good tight fist and hit the palm straight into the centre. Straight into the centre. Although one of the points I made was that you should hit the bag barehanded. Generally, to hit hard, you have to have conditioned hands. So wrapping your hands in a boxing glove, or with hand wraps in a boxing glove, and hitting a bag is okay, it's great, but it's not going to help you in a street fight. What you need to do is create density in your knuckles, in your hands. Now this comment was taken out of context, because my point was more on conditioning your hands. In fact, most of the objections that we had in the comment section was that if you hit the heavy bag barehanded, you'll damage your hands. But the point I was trying to make was that ultimately you need to be able to punch with a bare knuckled fist if you're going to defend yourself in the street. Now that doesn't take away from the objections that you can't hit the heavy bag barehanded, but it does open a conversation on how you should condition your knuckles for barehanded fights. Here's 3 tips to condition your hands for bare knuckle punching. Now I come from a traditional martial arts style where we condition our fists and our knuckles on wall bags or sandbags. So what you're doing is you're closing a fist, accelerating from here, closing your thumb and moving forward. So you should literally practice that. The second point you should do, once you've got this idea of closing your fist and making a nice tight fist, and one point just to add to that, is that you want to make sure it's nice and tight so there isn't any air, okay? So it's not a hollow fist. You don't want to hit someone, and if you hit someone, crumple your fist. If you crumple it, you can seriously damage your hand, even break your hand or your knuckles. So squeeze it tight, make sure there isn't any air in there so you're compressing it in. They're essentially canvas bags filled with sand, and you land your knuckles onto the bag to condition your fists. Over a period of time, your hands become heavier and more dense. The next stage, what you should practice when you're developing your wall bag training, is laying your fist on the bag to develop weight. If you can imagine a hammer, you swing the hammer, okay, it's got weight on the end of the end of the hammer. So you're doing the same with this. So making a fist, resting your weight. So nice and heavy, but I'm laying my hand on the bag. So from here, I'm squeezing the fist, keeping the tension, but relaxing the arm. So the weight transference is much heavier. It's a heavier transference of weight because I'm laying and leaving my hand there. Now taking that a stage further, you could apply the same idea on training on a heavy bag. Of course, you do have to use caution. You can't hit the bag as hard as you can from the start. In fact, you'll cripple your hand and you'll damage yourself. My suggestion is that you gently rest your hands on the bag. You start with light punches, but what this will teach you to do is to form a fist. How you form a fist is simple. Put your fingertips on the bag, okay, and close your fingers, roll them in, put your thumb in, accelerate. 1. Forming a tight fist is central to punching in the street. If you have a loose fist and you hit someone, you're more likely going to cripple your hands. You need to squeeze your fist tightly together, tight enough that you can actually form a solid fist that creates a dead weight. And that's what you want to land on the heavy bag. So when you're turning, you've got much more of a 3-dimensional surface, you can change your angles and land your knuckles in the correct placement on a heavy bag. The other factor, which is a safety factor, is time. You shouldn't spend too much time hitting the bag barehanded. Don't go hard, don't spend too much time on it. If you're going for 15 rounds and hitting the bag as hard as you can barehanded, of course you're going to cripple your hands. That's obvious, that's sensible, and that makes sense. What we're looking for is the ability just for you to get your hands used to actually hitting barehanded and clenching your fist. So essentially you could do both. Personally, I don't do both. As I said, I come from a traditional martial arts background where we clench a solid fist and we hit a sandbag, and that in itself creates the density and the compact nature of my fist. For me to put gloves on and then to start to hit hard, I actually get a lot of hand pain when I do that, because my hand's in an uncompromised position, it's slightly open within the glove. Now if you come from a background where you start with gloves, it may be a good idea for you to learn how to clench your fist in a solid position and land it in a heavy position on the heavy bag. Having said that, time is a factor. I would always recommend doing a couple of minutes or one round at least on the heavy bag barehanded. Another objection we often had was the type of bag. Of course, if you're hitting a canvas bag, you're going to skim your knuckles on the bag. Once you skim your knuckles, you're going to tear the skin and you're not going to be able to hit the bag anymore. The key thing is to have a leather bag or a PVC bag, but when you hit the bag, as I said before, you land your hand clearly in a weighted fashion. So just to finish, it's not a bad idea learning how to punch barehanded. It conditions your hands, it gets you physically and psychologically ready to fight. You can hit the bag with a bare hand, but you can ease into it. You don't have to hit it as hard and fast as you can. The most important thing is to limit your time. Thanks for watching, hopefully you picked up a few points. If you like what we do, comment in the section below, #FightBoss. Thanks for watching.